Welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife. And with Veterans Day this last week, it just got me thinking about some things that we have talked about before, specifically the PACT Act that got passed back in August. Basically, the relief for burn pits and nuclear exposure and all that other toxic, wonderful crap that military service members have to deal with. And I thought it would be apropos to follow up and see how the, how the government rollout on assistance is coming, because, that's always entertaining. So that's part of what we're going to talk about today. As always, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife. Okay, so Veterans Day, like I said, was this last week, and there's a lot of different stuff that goes on Veterans Day. There's parades, there's discounts. I remember our first year as a military family, I found out about some of these discounts and these like free deals on like free meals and whatever, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, let's go do that." I had no idea what kind of nut house this stuff was going to be. Quite literally, the lines were ridiculous. It just wasn't worth it, especially with little kids. And so I was just like, you know what? This, especially since we're still unpacking from the move, this Veterans Day weekend, I'm like, you know what? I've got my husband home. We are going to unpack. We are going to chill. We're going to hang out with some friends. The only thing we did do was there's a frozen yogurt place that has a discount that I'm like, it's freezing cold. No one else will be there. And sure enough, we were like one of the few families there. So it was great. And the kids had fun, and it was a good break from unpacking boxes. So, yeah. But another thing I did on Veterans Day, there is a YouTuber. His name is oh gosh, I just blanked on it. But anyway, his YouTube channel is Tasting History. And I like old recipes and cooking and history. And so I've enjoyed his channel for a while now. But he put out a special episode on Veterans Day. He normally puts out new episodes on Tuesdays, but he did two last week because of in honor of his grandfather who served in World War II, and he talked about the history of the food in World War II, and specifically one recipe and how they had to improvise. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh, honey, they still improvise. Like, I could tell you stories." And then he was like, "Oh, and I want to do like a whole episode on like MREs or like modern military food." I'm like, "Sweetie, I got you covered." I like, yeah, we actually have MREs, I think, in my house. I think most military families probably have an MRE somewhere. Um, but anyway, uh, I really enjoyed that episode. And part of that episode, he was talking about a friend of his who has a website called Veterans Life, and got on Veterans Life myself afterwards. And it's got a lot of really great information and resources. It was really interesting just looking at it. And as I was scrolling through, that's when I saw the update that this individual had posted on the PAC Act, which is basically it's the bill that was meant to address the burn pits and other types of chemical exposure and provide VA coverage for those things. Um, and I did a whole episode on that before. So if you missed that episode and you want more specific information, I actually read through the entire bill so you don't have to, and broke it down and had all sorts of references. So that's back. It's Victory or like Big Win for Veterans, I think yeah, that's the name of the episode. So, this is a follow up on that. So, as I discussed in that original episode, the VA was given a grace period to hire more people to process all of the applications that they know they're going to get hit with, because they know over 3 million people have already been exposed. And that was just to the burn pits. They've opened it up to a few other things in this legislation and are included also. So they know they're going to be getting quite a few applications. And sure enough, yep, they've been getting tons of applications. They're already backed up. There's delays. People have had to wait um, for months now. I think according to the information I saw, there is currently 113,000 new applications just in regards to that. And so, based on another article I saw, they're really trying to focus on prioritizing the people who are actively fighting cancer and then, you know, going from there. But basically, it's just they're still trying to work up to speed. This is a huge increase in volume and that is hitting all at once. And so they're going to have a while to hire, train people to start processing these applications. So the VA actually responded and said that they will not be fully processing applications until January of 2023. So if you have an application in and it has not been responded to and you think it's going nowhere, just understand that it's not the end of the world. It's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen because this is the government. It's hurry up and wait. I mean, you've been in the military. That routine is not unfamiliar. So, um, but if you are hitting a roadblock, there is another avenue you can also pursue. So, back in 2017, the Appeals Modernization Act was passed in regards to the VA, and this gives some benefits to military family and personnel. If you've been waiting for a long time, which is not uncommon, you can appeal decisions that are made. You can appeal the fact that you've been waiting forever. There's processes, and there's three different ways that it works. But basically, if you hit a roadblock, and also just because of the sheer volume, the VA has said go ahead with no, it's the Veterans Benefit Association, I think. Anyway, there's the VA and the VBA. The VBA said, and the VBA is the one that is running or taking care of the Appeals Modernization Act. They're the ones who are doing this. So they said go ahead and submit a claim through the VBA and the VA, and that should help in case, just because there's going to be backlogs, there's going to be issues and it'll help address things with timeliness and whatnot. So I wanted, because honestly, I was not aware of the VBA before I started working on this podcast. It's the Veterans Benefits Administration. I figured I could run through some of this for you guys and just make you aware of what's out there. So, again, if you are a civilian and you maybe don't have anyone who's active duty, there's a good chance you know a vet. So, this is a very beneficial program for all vets. Maybe you have an uncle or a grandparent who served, and this is something you can share with them to help them out if they're dealing with any issues. So basically, the law stated that it's to modernize the claims and appeal process. It includes three decision review options for disagreements with benefit decisions. It requires improved notification on VA decisions. It provides early claim resolution and ensures you receive the earliest effective date possible. And so the different review options are the higher level one, option one, your claim is reviewed by a more senior claim adjuster and involves a higher level of uh, a new look decision, a new submission or review of evidence, and possibly an overturning of a decision. So basically, you get to bump it up the chain of command. So if things aren't going down, I realize I just used a military phrase on that one, but basically, you get to pass it up to someone with higher authority if you don't like the way things are going. The other one is a supplemental claim. You can submit or identify a new or relevant evidence to support your claim. So basically, let's say you put in a claim and you didn't realize you had other conditions that factored into this. You can update it and say, well, hey, yes, I served in this burn pit area and I've got this disease, but then later you develop a secondary disease because there's a lot of different respiratory conditions. So maybe you start off with a respiratory condition and then you end up with cancer. So you can update that through it and get that covered as well instead of starting the whole process over again. Or at least that's my best grasp on that. Um, and then the third option is to appeal to the Board of Veterans. And this option allows you to directly appeal to the Board of Veterans. And you can choose between three options in this option. So there's like subcategories of this category. You can have a direct review. If you don't want to submit additional evidence to the hearing, you can have evidence submission review, so you can add more stuff, or you can have a hearing to submit evidence and have a hearing with a veterans law judge. So basically, what they're saying is, and I'm going to have the link for this page in the description so you can reference all this yourselves. But basically, what's happening is there's a lot of bog down. This whole system is to help make sure everything's going through quickly. And just because of the sheer, and this is my take on it, because of the sheer volume that's going to be hitting at such a quick time, and they're going to have a lot of new people, and this whole process is new to this extent. It's better to just kind of get started on this side process of just saying, hey, in case XYZ, I already have this going. And that way, it's not uncommon for people to wait for 5 months to a year. And so this also can expedite the process if it is being slow. So, again, it's something that if this is a situation you and your family are dealing with, you've got a family member or a friend who is a veteran who's dealing with one of those conditions from the burn pits or the Marshall Islands, nuclear exposure, radiation stuff, or any of the other ones that were mentioned in the legislation back in August. Pass this on to them, let them know it's gonna all pan out eventually, but it's just one of those things that it's gonna take some time. And it gets frustrating, and I we're not on the VA side yet. We have not had to deal with the VA yet, but I have had experience with the VA in regards to grandparents and other family members. And I know that it can be frustrating and time consuming. And this is just one thing I'm going to say. If you're going to criticize the system, like, try to also help. Like, we have so many issues with the VA being understaffed, and um, it's because people don't always want to work there. I get it may not be the glamorous, most wonderful position in the world, but if you've got somebody you know that is starting out in medical or anything like that, maybe this is a job you'd like to recommend to them because we need more loving, caring, dedicated people at the VA. It will just make the lives of all of our veterans better. And it can be a thankless job. I know that. There's a lot of thankless jobs in this universe though. And I have appreciated the people we have worked with in the VA who have been patient and understanding and compassionate and really good at explaining things. Like, having a good communicator is just amazing. It changes the whole process. And so that might be something for someone who is just finishing up a degree in either medicine or medical administration or whatever. this might be a good way for you to get some experience and help serve those who have served our country. So that's my little plug for like, let's support the VA. I feel like everyone just bashes on the VA too much and they don't get enough, you know, love. With that said, though, it's going to be a process. There's going to be hiccups. And of course, there's going to be a backlog because when you have over 3 million people who qualify, it's going to be a hot minute before they get to everyone. So, especially, I don't mind that they're prioritizing the higher risk cases, people who've already got cancer and things like that. Those are time sensitive medical situations. And it, yeah, it's going to be a hot minute, but at least maybe, hopefully, things are getting going in the right direction. So, be patient. They will start processing the applications come January, and I will be posting that link in the description below. I'm really grateful for, oh, is it Max Miller? Yes, Max Miller, woohoo, from Tasting History to have shared that resource. It just looks like a fun website in general. Um, and I really hope I would love to collaborate with him on an MRE episode. It would be a lot of fun. Even if I just was like, here, talk to my husband. But anyway, um, so that is basically what we were doing for Veterans Day. I love Veterans Day. My kids always, especially because we're a military family and my kids go to a school with a lot of other military children. There's a lot of discussion about our military family history and everything. And I love pulling out the old photos and telling them the stories. And I swear I tell them the same stories every year and they act like they've never heard them. I think my favorite is their grandmother, well, their great grandmother, my husband's grandmother, who was a nurse in World War II, caught a spy. And I've mentioned that I think in a previous episode, and caught a German spy, and they just think that's so awesome. Especially my daughter, she just is so proud of her grandmother who served in World War II. So, yeah, if you didn't get a chance to delve into your family's military history over this last weekend, I encourage you to do so and to also show some compassion to any veterans you're running into. I very frequently like to post this one cartoon clip that I have seen on my Facebook, and um, it's like the reason that we celebrate Veterans Day is for those like who made this who gave up everything to help keep this land free. And so the reason why, and Thanksgiving is when we can pause to give thanks. So it's like Thanksgiving is a really great time to remember why we have this country. This country every country's got a complicated history, but there are a lot of really good men and women who have sacrificed a lot so that we can have the freedoms that we have and we can have the lives that we have. And I've had the opportunity to go to another country and just to see the difference between our first world problems, quote unquote, and what life is like there. And it makes me appreciate what my ancestors have done to help make this country the place it is so that people can have the ability to get an education and provide for their families and have these liberties. So that is my little 2 cents on Veterans Day and the PAC Act and what's going on with all that. I hope you all had a wonderful Veterans Day weekend. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season as it comes up. I know it's going to be really kind of nuts for us this year. There's a lot going on, but I like being busy, so it'll be good. Anyway, As always, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you've been listening to Life of a Military Wife.